Welcome back into European Masters. We're here for Game 3 of the semifinals. Win or lose, it's all on the line here under LDLC or Go Rogue. All comes down to this one game on who is able to get to the finals.
Yeah, and it's been, two games that went pretty one-sided, I would say.
Agreed.
With LDLC most recently taking just a complete stomp of a victory here. And I feel like in both games, I've had so many questions coming out of the draft with these two teams, especially this most recent game where all of a sudden, the opening looked very, very similar for Rogue, but then they pivot hard into throwing the Renekton into the top lane, the Rek'Sai into the jungle, really hinging on whether or not they could perform early on into the match. But we've seen that the jungle matchup is very LDLC favored, so I think Rogue should go back to what's worked for them throughout this tournament, which is more of a defensive approach towards the scaling of the teamfight options.
Yeah, I almost wonder if that draft even works for them if they get something like Jarvan that can play early into the game, but is also about setting up the team. It's able to get them ahead. But I'm also wondering, because I look at the draft, they don't really have wave clear. If they're able to kind of pivot around that so they can get more lane priority, that might be able to fight back better against TynX's early game.
You also just can't forget how the game actually started snowballing out of control, which had less to do with the actual champions in it, more to do with just a big blunder down towards the bottom side of the map where Rogue committed into the fight, not necessarily respecting the fact that TynX could be right there, and on the Trundle, very good at punishing you after you've already used your mobility effects forwards, and of course Mystiques just running straight into that Trundle ended up costing them big time, because it wasn't like TynX just outplayed the Rek'Sai individually, it was just TynX showing up into bot lane when the fight was already being called down, and Rogue committing into it. And if that didn't happen, all of a sudden the entire landscape of the match could have changed.
I do want to see that change in-game. I almost expect the draft to be very similar to what we saw before from games 1 and 2, where we see the same champions banned initially. Not really change anything, because you have games 1 and 2. The exact same 6 champions were banned by both sides.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it opened out really similar, right? We're probably going to see Thresh banned over here, Zoe LeBlanc on the other side with the Trundle first pick, and I don't think Trundle is the problem. I think you're actually completely fine to give that one over towards LDLC, where I think things got a little bit strange was going for that Renekton, all of a sudden showing the hand that it can't be that flexible Akali, then putting the Rek'Sai as opposed to, an option that gives you some sort of fallback, because that's one thing Rogue did not have last game, which was, if things go poorly in the early game, do we have any way to get back in? And the answer was no.
I think they got so thrown off by that Yasuo pick from LDLC that was able to flex all over the place. It gave LDLC the ability to kind of mess with the minds of Rogue, say, you don't exactly know where this champion's going to go. He could go mid lane, he could go top lane, he could go bot side. That is exactly what happened, but whoa, here's an adaptation. They ban Trundle, leaving Graves open, which I'm expecting teams to grab immediately.
Yeah, so here's the thing about the Graves as well. It's not going to be, as threatening in the early game. No. It does give much better scaling options here. So I still ooh, that's a bit of a risky one now. But with the Trundle gone, this is actually something that LDLC defaulted to back, I believe, in the group stage when LDLC was playing blue side up against Rogue. They actually liked the Varus for themselves too. So Hades will be piloting that in this game here, and I wonder how much that changes, because I think you're still fine to take the Ezreal here if you are Woolite, and of course the Akali is open. But another thing I was thinking was, hey, if we don't have a great answer into the Ornn that's better than a Renekton, why not just take it for yourself? You don't need to feel so pressured to go for the early Akali, so I like this pivot from them too.
But we do look at how Szygenda has played throughout this entire tournament, and he's loved playing those hyper-aggressive top laners, the bruisers, the flankers. His tanks have lacked a lot to be desired when he was on Ornn, the Maokai. He didn't have that same bang that he has when he's playing Aatrox, when he Renekton or Akali.
No, he didn't. But at the same time, if you remember back to game 1, Czekolad or I guess Szygenda was a big factor in that game, but Czekolad on the Cassiopeia was absolutely massive and really hard to reach over from LDLC. Already, Rogue showing great tools in terms of overall range in their composition, but of course, you're going to see the Graves now come through for LDLC.
Expected.
And now I wonder, what does Zanzarah actually go for? Because I don't think there's super great options into the Graves. You can either say, hey, I want something like a Jarvan Jarvan or Rek'Sai and just like pile up on more early game pressure that Graves struggles to match in the overall ganking department. But that hasn't necessarily gone super well for Zanzarah so far today.
Well, I almost wonder if he goes to Gragas here. You go for something that's going to be aggressive early, that's going to be able to give a lot of extra damage, especially AP, and be able to deal with TynX in the early game.
So I think the Jarvan is more likely, primarily because, like, I agree Gragas could be good, but I feel like Czekolad is going to be playing magic damage out of the mid lane. So by going Gragas when you have an Ezreal that's also going to be doing a decent chunk of magic, it would make you too far in one direction almost. So I think with, you know, us now seeing the Bard, it's clear, you know, there are some teamfight tools here from Rogue. Like, Jarvan could be a viable option for them, and one that you were actually suggesting they go for before the draft.
Exactly. That was something that I was definitely thinking about, and I do think it works very well with their composition. I was just wondering, trying to postulate different strategies Rogue might be able to go for, especially because we imagine that LDLC are going to ban some of these things, like Cassiopeia from Czekolad. They're not going to have anything that we know you're very confident taking blind here and kind of leaving Zanzarah open, but I do expect them to hold off to the mid lane until the very end, try to make it so that they could possibly even flex Ornn to mid.
Yes, that's definitely got to be an option here for Rogue. Now, when they're finishing out their composition, one thing I brought up before was actual overall range, right? With Ezreal, Bard, Ornn, all these things looking very good. This is something I want to see them continue with, specifically against the Graves, because Graves versus multiple melee champions, absolutely unbeatable. Like, the guy just gets into you, stacks up his true grit. You can't kill him, he does a million damage, it's really hard to deal with. But if you can actually kite him away, right, CC him from range, it becomes really hard for him to do things. That's where, like, an Orianna plays in super, super well, potentially, to what Rogue are trying to do. And I think maybe Orianna could be on the table here for Czekolad. At least that's what I would like to see.
They could go for that, and we've seen how good an Orianna can be in this tournament. Shiko the other day was a monster on that champion and can do so much damage, especially someone who's a mobile like Varus, or even if you're slightly more mobile, such as Akali and Graves are, you can still take a good chunk of damage onto them.
My guess is it's going to be an Orianna or it's going to be a Corki here for Czekolad. He has played the Corki once so far in this tournament. Now, with a Akali shown on the other side, a lot, of course, is going to change depending on where this one ends up going here. But LDLC's comp is looking really interesting to me because they don't have great engage options, and that's what I feel like they're missing. So yes, Maokai, I like this as the answer up against the Ornn specifically. You can also follow someone who's a little bit more mobile with the twist advance on towards an as well here, and tries to round out their comp. They've got the engage from the Maokai, you've got Akali that wants to jump into the backside as well. I think their executions within team fights are a little bit less clear than what Rogue are trying to put forward, but they certainly have options for individuals to pop off.
There it is, Orianna locked in now. Final pick for Czekolad to give them that team fighting capability. And since they have pretty good ball delivery systems with Jarvan, even Ornn, does give them the tools to be able to get into that backline and try to see if they can punish, but they do have to be careful of both TynX and Vétheo on this Akali Graves combination, where they can't easily kind of skirt around that zone control that Rogue are going to try to set up.
That's the thing, though, right? Like, the Orianna Jarvan comes in now, and Rogue have all the tools they need to keep LDLC at range.
Right.
Now, just a QW combo from Orianna not only does it slow them down, but you also have the threat of the shockwave behind it. So TynX is just going to be on, you know, playing whack-a-mole with, like, Ornn and Jarvan in these team fights. He's not going to be able to dive in towards the back, and depending on how these fights play out and whether or not Bando can collapse in on a flank or find a teleport, the fights are going to be so much easier for Rogue if it's just a lot of LDLC players funneling in a straight line in towards them. So if they're choosing their fights correctly, they are going to be in an excellent position to try and win them out.
This is the change that we wanted to see coming in from Rogue, where they're drafting more about team fights. They're drafting for the late game scaling, trying to make it so that they, as a team, can play together, not have to worry about whether they're snowballing out of control like they did in game 2. It's going back to the basics for them.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good one. Again, I feel like we've sort of reset after that game number 2, and all of a sudden gonna be putting our best feet forward, I guess, Those times? I don't really know here. Whatever that is. Now, for LDLC, TynX on the Graves. He absolutely carried on the Trundle in the last game. This is a champion that you can absolutely start to stack up on and turn into a monster, but it won't be the same sort of style where you can get super aggressive, going for ganks or anything like this. It's going to be a little bit slower, I feel, from him early on.
Especially because you look at his lanes, and Graves does need a lot of setup from his lanes to be able to help him get a lot of these ganks. Mid lane, Vétheo on Akali, not really the best setup, especially not against an Orianna, who's probably just going to clear out the wave, leave. Bot lane, same kind of thing until later into the game. While Braum can help set up, you're not likely to be able to stack up those concussive blows pretty quickly against an Ezreal Braum lane.
Oh, interesting here. So looking at the rune choices, Hades is going to be playing the on-hit Varus, even going for the Corrupting Potion, which I don't think we've seen a ton of recently, but back when Lethality Varus was quite popular, you would see this a lot, rocking the Teleport as well, where you can just base, get those 3 potion stacks back up very quickly as well. Now, here's the thing about what Hades is trying to do is there's 2... If he was going on hit, it actually would make more sense for me.
Same here, because there's 2 beefy tanks that are going to be jumping into the back.
Oh, did I say on hit? I meant lethality.
That's what. I think you meant lethality.
Sorry.
When you said that, I was really confused. I was going to be like, so you just pulled me. It's okay. You said the wrong thing.
Yeah. No. But here's the thing, right? Is that the way these fights play out, I don't think Hades is probably just going to be auto-attacking an Ornn and a Jarvan jumping on towards his face, in which case on-hit is going to be favorable. So what he's basically saying with by going for this rune choice, building towards the lethality, is that he wants to use the range to sort of poke into the backline and help set up for Vétheo to really pop off in the fight. So it's actually more on the Akali in these to jump into the backside, disrupt Woolite and Czekolad, and it'll be TynX's duty, it'll be TynX's job to do the majority of the damage to the front line.
Which is what LDLC have been doing pretty much throughout this tournament. Is trying to set up for TynX to be able to carry these games. He has really been probably at his best that we've seen for a while. People were talking about how over in the LFL he was decent, he was doing well, but really he has shown in this tournament and been such a highlight player, and how he's been able to play and get ahead. I mean, did you say how he's going to be able to play that with this Graves? Last time we saw it, I believe, I'm trying to remember what game, he got absurdly far ahead is all I remember.
Yeah,
I think it was against
it was like the 17-minute win, right?
Yeah,
it was like diving top lane tower.
That was Movistar. But there's another one.
Oh, that was Movistar, right.
Against Diffuse, because it was another fast game where he was so far ahead and was able to play very well because they had lane set up from top lane. And you look at Maokai, who probably is someone who can help back up TynX early on.
Yeah, now that being said, up against the Ornn, maybe a little bit difficult because of his ability to just go unstoppable and block a lot of CC. You can also see Zanzarah into the river very early on, looking for the double crab, which is pretty common in a matchup like this if you're not trying to gank yourself. While TynX is walking around it, this is actually a pretty ballsy way to go into the river here, and you don't have pressure in mid lane or bottom lane either, walking all over these wards. He doesn't really have anything better to do with his time. You know, we'll just be walking towards mid lane now and trying to sprint up towards that, if he goes into Zanzarah, it could be rough.
Look at this, already getting exhausted. He's getting a little bit of damage back on Czekolad, who didn't have enough mana, but Clockwork Windup does a lot when you're able to wail away and get the knock up on the flash to TynX. He gets a heal, and first blood for Vétheo. Zanzarah, he thought he had the play, but TynX was confident with this team.
Oh no, but Zanzarah goes so ham right there. It's like personal after games 1 and 2, but he didn't realize YellOwStaR has heal on the Braum.
It's not over. They're still going for the play. They wanted to get Czekolad, who didn't have the mana. But man, YellOwStaR, I will say too, that rotation up there to be able to get the heal for TynX at just the right moment. But Zanzarah is not giving up. He's back here on the top side. He lost his chickens. He doesn't have any backup though. Czekolad is a little too low and doesn't have the mana to be able to look for this fight.
So, like, the setup was really good from Zanzarah, right? He got both Scuttle Crabs and then walks in towards mid to be able to counter gank that one right there. And, you know, he commits for the flash forward, and that's fine. But then, with both supports roaming up there, didn't realize what was happening. Now with the bot lane.
And Woolite, there is no real fight back there. He realized the moment he saw Vétheo, he said, I'm out of this one. I'm just going to see if I can at least get a little bit of damage.
It is starting to fall apart here from Rogue, and after the stomp that was game 2. LDLC carrying so much momentum into this game. Thank you, observers, for highlighting this, by the way. The ward behind placed by YellOwStaR. Vétheo comes in with this gigantic wave and the cannon minion as well. Woolite has no chance. And remember, this all calls back to them seeing the Bard in the mid lane for the play that went horribly wrong for Rogue. So it's not actually that mid lane play that just loses LDLC or just gives LDLC 1 kill. It gives them 2 kills because of how they're willing to jump on that play bot side too.
That's why I love that ward placed down by YellOwStaR. Not only for the TP for Vétheo, but the fact that make sure you know Mystiques isn't there. You know this party is nowhere near in the bot lane. Not going to be able to...
Yeah, this is starting to fall apart now for the side of Rogue with 2 kills on Vétheo. They're going to need to try and stabilize as best they can. The play will be towards the bottom lane. Mystiques here to CC up YellOwStaR, who has no flash. Will be jumped on. I think you're going robot.
I think
for
so
a second
too. I was about to say,
so
I was definitely seeing something a little bit weird there. So try to take over for a bit while I figure out what's going on.
I got you. Yeah, figure out what's happening for the time being as Zanzarah will jump over the wall on towards TynX. They both got red smites. Just going to drop that one down and TynX will walk away. No support to help him out. So the buddy system pays dividends for Rogue now. Zanzarah able to find that one now. In a game like this, I actually think this is a situation where Woolite could be looking to go for the full blue build Ezreal, go for Iceborne Gauntlet himself. Not necessarily the best feeling thing when you have like an Ornn on your team especially, and you're going to be one of 2 damage dealers, but against the lethality Varus could be good. And wow, he baits out the ulti there from Hades, so
I think I'm back.
Have that
I think I'm back. Hopefully we got everything sorted. Had to kick people off the internet to see if that works, but we are back. I saw right as that happened too. It was a really good bait out of Mystiques to be able to get Chain of Corruption and not really lose a single thing himself. He only had to use Magical Journey to be able to escape, but they have no pressure at bot lane. Mystiques had to recall because he was taken pretty low, which TynX immediately sees as his opportunity to go onto this first dragon.
Yeah, and this will be taken before Rift Herald is actually spawned, so while Zanzarah's in the area, he can't actually trade, except unless he's going to look for a kill on the top side.
Ooh. Even mid lane, there was the play that was attempted 1v1 for Vétheo. Bando, pretty far out. We're trying to see if he can predict where Bando was going to go. Unfortunately, he gave him a path out, so Maokai going to be able to survive the gank from Zanzarah.
Yeah, really nice play there from Bando, of course, by just popping the Twisted Advance as soon as you see the EQ come through from Jarvan. He can't actually land the knockup on you. So Bando with the Maokai mechanics right there, he's insane. But what does this mean for the rest of the team? Well, Zanzarah just showed topside after taking some turret shots. He's got to go for a base. So now TynX is going to solo out both neutral objectives here as he continues to play super well in these early games.
Yeah, it's trying to see what they can get right now. There's going to be the TP top lane. Mystiques again, going to be able to play with fire against LDLC. Say, alright, you're trying to do this, it's easy to get out. I'm really curious though, this game I expect to be a little bit slower, despite the fact that there have been these early kills that really have given Vétheo this advantage mid lane. You see Akali 2-0, and until not even 10 minutes into the game, you start to worry. But looking at the composition they've drafted, it still wants to be able to wait until the mid game to really try to pull the trigger into a full-on brawl against Rogue.
Yeah, well, the thing is, they got that second cheap kill around bot lane because Vétheo had the teleport. Czekolad doesn't have that, so that's one of the tools they can look to utilize. Now, Bando did TP back up into the top side, so LDLC probably not looking to do anything anytime soon. Same thing about Szygenda too, going for the cull on the Ornn right there. He knows it's going to be a slow early game. I actually really don't mind this at all.
Neither do I.
His items aren't going to make a difference.
Neither do I. I think that this is honestly the proper call here, if pardon the pun. Because you need to be able to scale up into the game a little bit stronger and try to make it so that you're going to be able to fight against champions you know that are wanting to scale up. Sure, Varus is the lethality variant that he wants to be able to poke out and do well in the mid game, but Graves and Akali, they're more about that mid to late game focus.
Yeah, so while Graves will have the option to scale up, he also has the option to get a lot of quick money right now too. So he has the finished off Warrior enchantment, which is going to be huge inside the jungle, but he also has that Rift Herald. So I'm looking towards him to maybe make a play around this bottom lane. If Vétheo can get push around mid side, you have the Herald, and there's 2 plates already off that bottom lane tower, so you can look to use that instantly knock down that tower with a couple of auto attacks from your team, deny a wave, and maybe look for a dive too here. So Rogue have to be aware as the cannon wave is being built up for TynX to make that play.
TynX pathing here. Mystiques wanted to get some meeps, so he's not going to be here in time probably for the pop to be there for TynX. He's just going to wait until they see Mystiques. There you go. Not actually even going to bother with the pop. Just want to see how much damage they can get, and they'll back off losing the cannon, so they lose that.
So I think it's the next wave.
You think so?
Or see, because Vétheo was like pretty slow to make that push happen, and they didn't want to dive without him there. Now they see Czekolad pick up the wave there, but it has given time for Zanzarah to come around.
Yeah, look at how many control wards they have. They know exactly that TynX and Vétheo are both here to set this dive up. Popping Shelly, going to be able to get a full charge, probably even get the turret itself. Rogue, though, they at least play this one smart. Oh, nice use of Tempered Fate. The charge will not take the turret. I love that. I love that play.
That feels real bad.
It does.
That feels real bad right there. TynX is like, yeah, all part of the plan. I got the Grump camp for my Rift Herald right there, but definitely not the payoff he was waiting for.
No, you forgot your plan against the Bard. Even I forgot for a second that Bard can do that, that it can completely deny Shelly her charge onto the turret. So not even losing a single plate in the bot lane. Maybe they should have made the call beforehand. Waited, gone for the play without Vétheo. Now, this is a lot. Szygenda to path down. Look for the pick on TynX. Only a little bit of damage comes in from Ornn and even from TynX. So they're going to back out of that one. Neither of them confident to go in without their team.
Yeah, a bit hopeful right there from Szygenda to find that pick, and nothing will really end up being lost when all is said and done there. Checking out itemization across the board here as Bando jumps on for some damage. Actually, TynX is going to be here. They're committing.
They are committing pretty hard onto Ornn. He flashes away. Zanzarah nearby, but he had started Krugs. TynX will spot out Jarvan. Maybe even threaten to take away some of that experience from Jarvan. No, he backs out of that one, saying we're going to wait for the team so that way maybe we can set up a dive still.
So, LDLC have hit their first items faster, which is why they're maybe trying to look for some plays here, and Bando going on Szygenda.
Look at this play. Good knockup comes in, but Bando's able to heal up through most of it. Despite the fact he has to flash away, they're still going to be able to get the kill before Zanzarah and Mystiques are able to rotate in time.
Nice little kill there coming through from TynX. Well done by him. And only just now starting to see some answers as... Oh no, I thought maybe there was going to be a player on mid, but no, nothing. With the Zanzarah showing topside and the Drake on the map, won't be able to go down there anytime soon. So TynX will be able to make that play towards there, and he went for the very early serrated Dirk as well, which I feel like is going to be punished pretty quickly once Szygenda and Zanzarah go for some items. Before that quick spike out of the jungle will give him a whole lot of damage. Now, the difficulty for him in any sort of like multi-man fight is that all those kiting options, right? The mobility from Woolite, but also Czekolad's itemization, which I think is excellent, deciding to go for that frozen Hextech GLP right there, will make it much harder for TynX to actually get close enough to deal the damage.
Yeah, looking at that serrated Dirk, that's definitely something that was kind of question mark ping from me, just seeing that it's going to give you maybe that earlier spike in damage, but not really going to be able to help you scale up.
Yeah,
and I look
the other thing is... Right, like, Ezreal can build Iceborne Gauntlet, and also Orianna gets free armor.
Right, that's what
on herself.
That's what I was about to say. I'm like, you look at what Rogue are doing, they're building a comp that's going to scale. They're not trying to see if they can wait it out, but they might have gotten caught. They had to use the Flag and Dragon. They get the knockup on the Mystiques, but they lose Dragon over towards LDLC, their second one of the game, and it will be an Infernal Soul that is going to be on the docket.
Yeah, still things going very, very well for LDLC at the moment, and now it will be the move towards the top side where they have pressure coming through from middle lane. Good news for Szygenda is he did clear away the minion wave, so should just be able to back away after this one, knowing that some sort of a play is coming in, but they're just actually going to go for the chase.
Yeah, looking for the chase onto Ornn. So, okay, I was actually doing a little bit of research while you were talking to see the last time that TynX played Graves, it was actually against a Go Rogue, and he did go for an early serrated Dirk, but that was in the game that they lost. It was into too much frontline on the side of Rogue, and so that's why I'm wondering more if this is just a comfort thing from TynX, that he feels far more comfortable going for the lethality style just to give him that early burst of damage into Zanzarah and Szygenda, knowing they're eventually going to get too difficult for him to get cut through.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of whether or not it's a stylistic choice, it's just now matching up with Hades too, who's going for the lethality. And if TynX ends up really doubling down, because I've also seen Graves where they just get a jerk and then they go into like Black Cleaver, Phantom Dancer, all that jazz, but they're gonna have trouble taking care of the front line.
But he does have a 2-level lead over Zanzarah at the moment, so it makes it a little bit easier for him to be able to deal with that. Try to see if they can cut him off. It's going to be the pick on Mystiques. Blown up by that lethality from both Hades and TynX. No longer having the one who's going to be able to stop them from pushing in. It's going to force the use of True Shot Barrage just to clear out minion waves as Harriet is going to push down mid.
Yeah, let's see if this Herald is a little bit better now that the Bard is dead. TynX also getting a lot of damage down on Zanzarah. Wait a second.
Shockwave, though, gets YellOwStaR to go golden. They're looking to see if they can pick up the kill. It's going to be the flash away to survive. Woolite getting a little bit of chip of damage, but the turret will survive despite a lot used on both sides.
Yeah, YellOwStaR and Zanzarah both just barely scraping by right there without falling down. So the Herald not going to amount to much, which unfortunately seems to be all too common with the second Rift Herald of the game, where you just can't really get too much out of it with no turret plates. Won't actually net you any sort of income based off of that. But LDLC are fine with that. Again, really, with 2 early Drakes and another Infernal coming in 2.5 minutes, they're just going to look to play around those, I feel like, for the next few.
You can see the gold difference between everyone. Most of that gold lead for LDLC is on to TynX over Zanzarah. Not only the 2-level lead that we're talking about before, but having nearly 2,000 gold over his opponent. But I'm still looking towards the other lanes. You have the carries on the side of LDLC, Akali and Varus, both with a decent-sized lead over Orianna and Ezreal. Make this mid-game a little bit more difficult for Rogue to battle back against.
Yeah, and that was sort of to be expected with how the early game has played out. And Rogue are just saying, hey, eventually we're going to get those Ornn items to come through to equalize like the gold lead in theory. But also, within the fights, if we're not getting picked off, right, that's where Rogue should be so much better off, especially once their items do come in. Still waiting to see whether or not Woolite's going to go Trinity Force or for the Iceborne Gauntlet side build. I believe he's probably just going to go Trinity Force anyways, but I think when you see double lethality on the other side, and actually Vétheo, who also has a little bit of AD damage too, like, oh, this is a game where I like it.
Same here. I was about to say, I'm like, there's a lot of champs on the side of LDLC that you stop by building Iceborne Gauntlet here. I think that if you're Woolite, you look at this. He's got a lot of experience. This guy's been around the block for quite some time. You gotta imagine that he is someone who's willing to adapt, willing to change on the fly. I want to see what happens when he recalls, and especially when going up against TynX, who's completed the Duskblade of Drakthar. Not even just holding on to that Serrated of the Dirk like we were expecting. He opted to go full lethality here.
Yeah, it's time to get some armor, Zanzarah. Can you get some money a little bit quicker? Because right now you're not rich enough to get anything.
No.
You're still gonna take a lot. Look at this flank though from TynX. He's cosplaying a wolf.
I like this from the side of Bando, looking for the pick on a Szygenda, thinking that he's not tanky enough. They're going to get the call. The Forge got a lot of damage. Is he going to be able to get the knockup? He's not going to be able to. He has to get out of there. The rest of Rogue trying to see if they can fight back. Bando went by himself. True Shot Barrage wide, but they get Zanzarah to go golden. Get the knockup as well. Shockwave not going to connect on anybody. The Tempered Fate was already used.
What? Hades just threw his Q the wrong direction. Am I the only one that saw that? Did I lose your magical? I don't know what's happening here, because I thought that was a kill right there. He has 2 lethality items. He was ready to double down on that one. They still do get Szygenda in the end, I suppose, so it's still a 1 fight from LDLC.
You briefly lost me, but I'm back.
Over.
My internet just can't handle the action right now. That's what's going on.
You know, I suppose.
The other games were so fast and chaotic, my internet just like, man, I don't know if I can comprehend what's happening. But LDLC now find themselves in Infernal Soul Point. Rogue, it might not be as quick as last time, but they do have their backs against the wall here in Game 3.
Yes, they do. They don't have much time to work with. They're going to need to figure things out, and luckily they will have their next item breakpoints in 5 minutes' time. Oh, certainly. There's no way they don't have Spellbinder and also the Trinity Force coming on in. But here's the thing. Szygenda against Maokai decided to go for an Abyssal Mask first. So TynX is actually going to tear through the man. Zanzarah, all he has is a pair of shoes to resist TynX as well. So
yeah, I'm not
early on. TynX still going to be doing a lot.
So let's look at this play. I want to see the Q. That's missed here by Hades, because I wonder if that actually would have been enough to be able to pick up a kill here onto Zanzarah. Probably actually would have.
Sure.
Yep, he turned her away because he was afraid of the Q from Czekolad.
Disappointing.
Well, it's okay. You know, they still have the lead, 5,000 over Rogue. Baron has spawned up. They could make this pick on the Mystiques, who had to use a very short magical journey to be able to get away. A little bit of chip damage as well from Rogue. We're still seeing if they can set up these fights, despite the fact that it hasn't been looking so good for them before. Temper Fate doesn't connect onto anybody. They have to back out of that one. They thought they had the play, because if you keep in mind, Vétheo did not have TP when they tried to initiate that fight. They could have actually had a 4v5.
And it looked like Bando was trying to walk back into it right there. I think press test right on the outskirts of that one to be able to dodge. Now with a lot of members towards mid, LDLC just want a second to knock down the tower.
Ah, Zanzarah, ouch! He went for the Negatron Cloak, did not go for Chain Vest, so he gets nearly annihilated by Graves.
Why are we building MR first, people?
I don't know. This
like,
is
you're not
definitely
getting
not the game to do it.
assassinated by Maokai and the Akali. Akali's hitting backline. If Akali's hitting frontline, you're winning the fight.
Exactly. This is the game to go full armor. Where are the Thord mails? Where's the Sunfire Caves? We need to start seeing more of those come in, so that way you can survive against TynX, survive against Hades.
Yeah, TynX just having a field day right now, running in and hitting anyone that comes close to him. Dealing big damages. And Hades now has an Umbral Glaive, so when you're trying to set up inside of the river, whether or not it's for the Baron, which will probably delay, but certainly in 2.5 minutes for that Infernal Soul, it's going to be so easy for them to dominate vision. They have 2 sweepers plus the Umbral Glaive. Man, it doesn't get much better than that for LDLC.
Looking at the builds as well, Woolite is going to go for Triforce. Like, we were hoping for the adaptation, but they really feel like they need that damage. They're lacking in that additional damage coming in from members.
Magical. Would you rather play against a Trundle that's 202 or a Graves that's 202? Because I feel like I'd rather see the Trundle.
Yeah, I would rather see the Trundle.
This brings us back to Rogue leaving that one up, or leaving the Graves up, deciding to ban the Trundle instead here. This does not seem like a win to do that up against TynX.
Not at all. Though they were able to win the last time they faced up against it. Right here, it feels like TynX is getting everything. He's got a 3-level lead, but he has bitten off a little bit more than he could chew. They do get the flash out of Zanzarah. Despite the fact that he was going to get collapsed on, he's able to get the flashes and keep pushing forward with LDLC.
I'll ask you again, do you really want to play against the Graves?
Nope.
I don't think the answer is yes here. TynX unkillable. He has no armor built up, but with the True Grit, he's not going to be killable in these fights, at least not until Rogue gets some more items, and Czekolad thankfully has finished off the Spellbinder, but we're still waiting on Woolite to get his base off, and now the Trinity Force will come through, but still, again, one more level. Szygenda just ticked over towards level 13, so hey, things may be looking better soon for Rogue, as 1 minute on the Infernal spawning. They definitely needed those items, but Szygenda won't be able to help out in that time period.
No, they're going to pretty much have your Ornn completely separated from me, which is pretty much why they've said, okay, you're coming in mid now. You're going to be here with us. Stay nearby. We are afraid of this fight that might happen. But they is going to be able to push free topside. Not even threatened. Going to be all Rogue trying to see if they can threaten to go for any sort of action.
Whoa.
Hades was a bit afraid that there was going to be the die of the Shockwave onto Bando so they could get rid of the tank. They get a 4v5. No TP yet from Vétheo. Almost getting the pick out of Hades. So they keep going forward. Oh, the snipe. Woolite. He does it.
Oh my word. Rogue just get 2 kills
They do.
seemingly randomly in the mid lane right now. Make that 3 as YellOwStaR has to flash away.
Flash away. There is going to be the TP behind. They should notice this. They go, oh, hey, there are 2 more behind us. Just continue to give them more gold. Why don't you, LDC? The fight comes in from Vétheo. We got a lot of damage with the collateral damage as well. They couldn't actually get anybody low enough to execute the kills. They have to back out of that. It's all at the time that Dragon is up. This is sole potential for LDLC. They want to be able to fight it back around it, but I don't think you risk the entire game for it.
No, you just go for the steal here with TynX. Surely.
Are they going to?
No, they zone him away though. Szygenda is standing right over the side of the wall. Would he be able to knock him up instantly? I have no idea what LDLC were thinking right there. Hades leading with the ultimate inside of mid lane, completely whiffing. Then Czekolad just says, hey, we're going to jump right onto you. Like, Vétheo's stuck in the top, and we're still 30 seconds away from Drake actually spawning, so this just makes absolutely no sense.
No, we take a look at this replay. I think they thought that they could fight back, but Bando got killed before you could even engage. I think you back out of this one. Even Hades, who flashed away from Temper Fate, gets sniped by Woolite. This is where you surely just leave it alone. You go, okay, it's a lost fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's still very dead, but this has given Rogue some much-needed time. You know, we were saying, hey, they just hit their second items, which is good for them, but it still doesn't match up against what LDLC have. Szygenda is going to be hitting level 14 very, very soon, and we delayed that Infernal Soul from coming through. So Rogue still staying in the game for the time being, and time can only make the game easier for them. Exactly. It's not like they like insta-outscale or anything, because of course like TynX still going to be very, very strong no matter where you're going to put him. But as soon as more resists come through, the game gets harder and harder. Temper
Fate not connecting, so not going to engage. Six instead going to zone away LDLC, trying to see if they can set up a little bit more vision control around this Baron buff. But Woolite took a little bit too much damage from Hades, so he has to back out of that one. Not wanting to go too near that lethality Varus, as well as the lethality coming in from TynX, makes it so hard for Woolite to step up.
Do LDLC actually want to start this Baron? I think they just want to bait Rogue in towards the fight here. But they're taking a bit of damage here. TynX won't be able to sustain on back.
Going to be able to spot them out, get a lot of damage onto TynX with the True Shot Barrage. So they have to back out of that one. Fall back, not get any sort of advantage with vision, with control on the map. Only have Vétheo in the top lane.
This is getting really dire now for LDLC as Rogue go in.
They found them away from the turrets too. Not going to be able to get the second part of the knockup coming in from Szygenda. Instead, they're just going to trade turret for turret, top and mid. Back out of that one, have the gold in their pockets that they can now spend.
But now LDLC are actually immediately pinging back on towards the Baron. There's actually no vision for Rogue for the time being. Zan can, of course, scout here. Should cancel that one coming through, but only sees YellOwStaR. Now Vétheo's jumping on him.
A little bit of poke, trying to see if he can get over the wall. Will be able to, but look at the flip over the wall. Killing spree from Vétheo, getting away from Woolite as well. No jungle, you know immediately that is the Baron call.
Oh no, just as things start to go a little haywire for LDLC, Vétheo finds an insane pick there on towards Zanzarah, and Rogue, before they want to, are going to be forced into the 4v5.
Trying to see if they can at least battle back a little bit stronger than before. They gave the item to Woolite, it's down to 50%. LDLC taking a lot of chunk of damage coming in from that Ezreal, so they have to be careful, it's down to 25%. Szygenda still wants to be in the middle. They got Temper Fate that locked in 3 members. Shockwave onto 2 of them. Gets a lot of damage onto Vétheo, but not going to be able to pick up the kill just yet. It's down so low. They're waiting for the smite. It's going to be smite secured by TynX, but now they got to get away because they're all so low. Bando is going to be the one who sacrifices his life for the team so they can all escape with Baron buff on toe.
There's still a tower here in 4-second recalls. They're going to try to get down here. The minion wave's going to block the Qs.
But no, look at that, Szygenda! He flashed in, got the knockup. They get the kills that they need. Only one is going to be able to survive that, and it's going to be Vétheo.
Oh, man, what just happened right there? Kind of crazy going on with Vétheo. Running on over here. Is he going to be able to find Szygenda?
He wanted to get the flip.
Answer is no.
He's baiting him in. He's just trying to see if he can jump on him. True Shot Barrage will zone away Vétheo. Blast Kona as well.
Yeah.
Minions there. Rogue, they might not have gotten the Baron, but they get the fight that they want that denies LDLC from being able to punish them.
I think that may be enough. Yes, one buff does live, but things were almost looking really terrible for Rogue right there. I thought they wanted to pull the trigger quicker on the fight, right? As soon as the Bard ulti came down, they had a window where they could have, you know, dove on in there. Instead, they tried to play off that cooldown, combining the Shockwave with that to get the guaranteed CC down. But it meant that the Baron went over to LDLC, and they were just half a second away from escaping with 4 players surviving. Now the play will be back towards the Infernal, though. And they do have that Baron buff in the top lane. No teleport on the side of Rogue, so LDLC are going to try to play the 4-1 game.
Try to see if they can fight it. Here's the TP in from LDLC, so no longer can they play around that Baron buff in the top lane. Instead, they're trying to see if they can play around Infernal Soul. They don't want to just give up on that. They want that to be as their end-all be-all for victory.
Yeah, so LDLC are playing for the wave control first, and because they have Baron, it's hard, but here we go!
Oh, look at they engage into the backline. It locked in Hades, but nobody else is able to collapse into the backline. Vétheo's going to be able to get onto Woolite. But look at the damage comes in. He's trying to get the final execution, going to be able to get the kill on Czekolad. Everyone's trying to disengage from that Akali, but they just can't. They can't do it. They all are starting to fall. Szygenda in the middle of everybody, and they're chased down by Bando. TynX already got his double kill, looking for the triple kill onto Woolite underneath the turret. He gets it. LDLC find the fight that they need, and they're looking like they're at the precipice of victory.
Yeah, LDLC, they've got the Baron buff in the mid lane, so they're going to be pushing for that inhibitor at the same time that Hades moves down here to find a free kill onto Mystiques. Going to be able to get that one in the end, and the Infernal Soul on top of it. Rogue risked everything on that team fight, and they got absolutely burned.
But he could follow up Zanzarah. He got Hades, and he got Vétheo locked in the backline. Nobody could do the damage that they needed to do to the carries. He got out of it. LDLC fought back brilliantly, finding Woolite too far out. Even Czekolad was too far out that they were able to punish that, slap back, get themselves Infernal Soul, and this is looking like France might be able to get themselves back into the finals.
Yeah, so Rogue didn't want to give up control over this midway, so Zanzarah comes jumping on in here, but you can see Czekolad back. Only the Ornn gets caught by the shockwave. Then we're funneled in the corner where TynX destroys Czekolad. The Orianna completely useless in that exchange here, and Woolite trying to fire into a Braum shield, into an Ornn or into a Maokai as well. It's just not going to work out. No. TynX finding a triple kill within that fight, showing that he will show up now level 16 on this Graves and just dumps you in the fight.
And so unfortunate for the side of Rogue, because you had everything look like it was in position. You had a great ult from Zanzarah, but Czekolad just wasn't in range to get Shockwave onto those members. Like you said, it only connected onto the tanky Maokai. Then everyone else just followed through. You had the flanker and Vétheo onto the backline of Woolite. There's only so much you can do as Ezreal when there's an Akali on top of you.
Now Rogue, they have maintained their two inhibitors. They're both going to be exposed for the time being. LDLC sieging up down towards this bottom lane. Now Baron's going to be coming up in 2 minutes, so unless Rogue full commit in towards a fight, we're not going to see the game end now, but they're going in.
You see that two members are on the bottom side of the map. They think that this is their time to be able to get the fight, but Zanzarah takes way too damage. They're going to be able to jump in onto Hades, but nobody's able to collapse. He turns around the kill onto the tank, gets rid of him. Now Szygenda, he's the only one left around to win the world, and you can see in the backline, they've taken out Woolite. Going to be able to get the shockwave only onto one Mystiques. Double kill for Vétheo. Szygenda the next to fall in the fight. He knows it's all over. Hades is on a killing spree. They even flash forward to knock back Czekolad and try to get the kill over to Vétheo, but he will be able to nearly escape, but it does not matter. It is the LFL at victory, wanting to get back to the finals. They made it last spring. They're doing it this one.
LDLC are just too damn strong, charging in towards the base here, making sure they can finish things off in style. TynX untouchable throughout this series, and France is going to the finals.
They will. It will be LDLC's first time at it. They're going to be happy with that victory. They found the picks. They want to pad the KDA one more time, but Viva la France, they go to the finals.
What a performance in that game and in this series. I cannot speak the praises high enough for TynX. He dominated the early games on the Trundle, especially in Game 2, and in this one, had a 4-level lead over Zanzarah, absolutely running through Rogue, even when it looked like there were maybe some gaps where they could get back into the game. TynX came up big and just shut them down.
That was incredible coming in from LDLC, going to the finals. We'll be right back with the reactions to the series, though, from our analyst desk, as TynX is going to be joining us for an interview.
comprenez maintenant pourquoi j'ai créé la Magic? En un clip, vous devenez Magic.
La monture avec ses 2 clips pour 149 €.
C'est Magic.
Dispositif médical.
Super jumping 入り
This is my creed. The boots that make me faster. The items that make me stronger. The potions that I drink. I get the best to be more powerful, so my champion rises to the top. But all this leveling up means nothing if I don't level up myself. It's the healthy potions I drink in real life that make me stronger. Because you can only rule the game when you realize you are your most important champion. To play like a pro, eat like a pro.
Welcome back to European Masters 2020 Spring. I'm Twitchum. I'm joined by TynX. Congratulations on the win and making it to the EU Masters final along with LDLC. What is, how are you thinking and feeling after that series?
I mean, I'm just really happy to make it through, right? Like, even in the game, when we were about to end, I was kind of getting like a bit emotional because it was one of the first times where, like, last time we dropped out of semis, it's like 2 years ago. So it just feels really good to be back and kind of a bit surreal. I felt a bit like we went into this game as the underdogs. I mean, maybe the narrative from the casters have been a bit different, but from personal experience and maybe among the pros, I kind of felt like we went in as the underdog.
I mean,
So it just
LDLC
feels really good to win. Sorry.
in the bridesmaid, this is a team and an organization that has finished second a lot, and kind of fallen at those hurdles. So it must feel good to make it to finals. I want to talk about the game really quickly before we zoom out. And I also want to say I'm really sad that I wasn't able to see that emotion in person. I had the pleasure of meeting you 2 years ago, and obviously with the COVID situation, it's difficult. But TynX, on the screen, you can see this dive being set up, and one of the things the casters were talking about, Zanzarah versus TynX, a lot of people have thought a lot of EU Masters better jungler wins, and this time you were the better jungler.
I mean, this play specifically, I was kind of just calling out to my teammate that cocky movement wins here. And I knew the bar was coming for me with the heal, so I was really confident to go in. I really trusted my teammate. We saw that Orianna didn't have a lot of mana, so we just went for a fight that could kind of go either way, but I was pretty sure we would have the edge anyway. So it's just one of those things where individual plays like really make a big difference, and I ended up dodging the Jarvan EQ, so it just turned out better, right? So it's just, I feel like you need to go into these kind of games just being confident and ready to do these kind of things.
I mean, it showed for the next 15 or 20 minutes. You guys had the lead. It felt like you were in control. We were sitting backstage on the analyst desk just talking about how that's it, LDLC have won. But there was a very hairy team fight around the Baron play. You guys pick up a kill into Zanzarah. You start Baron. Let's take a look at this replay and talk to me what's going through your mind and through the team communication after you start the Baron and then lose 4 members.
So, like, we were kind of scared when we were sitting under this turret because the Ornn was going to go in, but we kind of knew that we still had the advantage in the lead, and our win condition would still be the Drake. But I think in general, just starting this Baron might have been a mistake for us. I think this is not where our comp like really shines, so it was just a bit of a rushed decision because we did end up finding a pick that we maybe shouldn't have. So, like, even though we did die, we're still really comfortable that we can start to follow back on the Drakes. We have a good mat setup. They don't really have any turrets at this point of the game, so their mat setup is kind of difficult to play as well. So even though it looked bad, it's not the end of the world for us.
What were you saying when you're sitting under the tower now with all 4 members and Szygenda comes in with this great knockout? Honestly, what was happening in comms?
It kind of went down like, oh shit, and then there is always this in competitive games. People are always gonna try to like cheer each other up. So it's just like, oh, it's fine. We'll just tempo bot side. Like, it doesn't matter. And my mid laner, I remember him saying, "It's fine, guys. I still have Baron." And then we just played on. Like, we had 1 Baron. We could still play the game. It doesn't matter. We have the Drake win condition.
I really appreciate your honesty, TynX. Oh shit!
Oh shit! The classic.
What did it feel like? Game 1, Rogue ended up winning that, a bunch of team fights, and it felt one-sided, even though everything was quite close. I've got another replay from Game 2 where you come back with the Trundle and honestly just dumpster the game. 21 minutes and 50 seconds. What's it like playing a BO3 and losing a game and then having to reset your mental and then having such a strong start in the second game? We've got this gank in the bottom lane, which will come up in a moment. But yeah, talk me through your team comms as you adapt and you're down 0-1.
Yeah, I think the first game we kind of did end up making a draft mistake. And then second game, we just went into it with like a new plan. We ended up picking the Yasuo bot lane into the Ezreal because we kind of knew that they were going for it again. So we just kind of came in with a new plan and it just ended up working really well. I think the mistake we did in draft was like really obvious, so it was kind of easy to fix. And next game, at least personally, I felt a lot more comfortable going in because you already played 1 game. Like, even though we knew that if we lost, we would lose the entire series, it didn't really matter too much. I just felt a lot more comfortable anyway. So we just ended up like really playing without any fear, and it just showed. We were not scared to take any fights, any trades, even like laning 2v2. We were really comfortable.
You were never scared. You were one of the bravest and most visible junglers I've ever seen. I'd like for you to chime in. I've seen a lot of narrative from feedback on analysts and discussions on social media that better jungler wins. And we're looking at the bracket, and you're in the final as one of the 2 best junglers right now. Like, do you think that's fair?
To some extent, yeah. I don't think I'm like recreating the meta or like doing something that has never been done before. I just think I have some really good games and the meta favors me really well. So there's just a lot of things that's going my way, and definitely my team is also smurfing really hard. Like my mid laner is drawing 2 bans every game, and even my top laner smurfed this game. Hydus is having some really good engages, and they don't make a lot of mistakes. So I feel really comfortable that if I'm in a position where I need to carry, that my team is not gonna either hinder me or they will always like have my back in a way. So
That's amazing.
it's just a lot of things that's setting me up, right?
Just a few quick questions. I obviously know YellOwStaR and have had the pleasure of casting him for a very long time. He's now back. He's in the final. He just had a fantastic tweet after the win. There's a boomer
I didn't see it.
in EU Masters Finals. A boomer in EU Masters Finals.
True.
You know, what's it like obviously playing with him on the squad and seeing one of the legends of Europe now, back on the Rift and obviously back in the final?
We were always joking that in 2019 it was a wife buff that won Doingby the World Championship, and then 2020 it's going to be the kid buff. Like YellOwStaR is going to 1v9 with kid, and it's just really free, right? That was the narrative we went in with.
I love it. I love it so much. TynX, congratulations. Thank you so much. Just before I let you go to celebrate and start watching the next series, Movistar Riders taking on Kick. Tell me what will be the determining factor and who will win and what your prediction is.
I think that in these kind of games, it's the teams that like decide that they are not going to play with any fear. It's the teams that are going into the games without anything to lose. And I think Movistar might have the edge on that one. But even though I think both teams are really close, and I think Kick can definitely take the series if they just have the better day. Like it's just one of those games that is going to be decided by who has the better day and who is going to like not be scared to play.
One very last question. Who would you prefer to play tomorrow?
Who would I prefer to play? I haven't even thought that far. Like I kind of hope that MRS win because I want to play a competitive game against Alioya. I've played against all the other junglers a lot in scrims. I've never really played against this guy, so I just want to see what he can bring. That's kind of it. It's not about what team I prefer to play against. It's just I just want to see what he can do. Yeah.
That is awesome. TynX, thank you so much. A fantastic interview. Congratulations again on the win, and we'll see you tomorrow for the EU Masters Spring Final.
Thank you. See ya.
We'll be right back with Movistar Riders taking on Kick. Stay with us.